Hello, and welcome to another episode of JRPG, Spiritual Successors. It's a term being thrown around today more than any other time in history. A lot of games also seem to somehow be related to other games, or at least made in the same vein. On today's episode, we will address what spiritual successors are, and talk about some other games that, while they may not be spiritual successors, are close enough.
While Wikipedia may not be the most credible source of information for scholarly purposes, it serves well in this definition. A spiritual successor, sometimes called a spiritual sequel, is a successor to a work of fiction which does not build upon the storyline established by a previous work, as do most traditional prequels and sequels, yet features many of the same elements, themes, and styles as its source material, thereby resulting in it being related or similar in spirit to its predecessor.
In short, spiritual successors are games typically made by some original team members that has a similar aspect and feel to their previous works. Recently, a lot of different people have left the company that they've worked for years for their own unique reasons, and have started to make games similar to the ones that they used to make. People like Keiji Inafune from Capcom and Ken Levine from Irrational Games have gone to work on a different area of the industry, on a different game, but wanted to reminisce on the feelings and aspects of the games that they previously worked on. The ideas, if you will. These games tend to become spiritual successors, and have aspects that are close to games that have come out prior. These games tend to do well with the target audience for this reason. Companies own the rights to an IP, or intellectual property. The company owns the rights to a franchise's name and characters, instead of somebody who worked on the game. This is why Hideo Kojima, formerly from Konami, can no longer make any Metal Gear Solid games unless Konami invites him back. Though he is basically the father of the franchise. This is why the Konami-Kojima issue that was going on recently was such a big deal, not to mention the way that he was treated. Honestly, I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a spiritual successor to Metal Gear Solid from Kojima Productions real soon. It would definitely be returning to Metal Gear Solid's roots by being a PlayStation exclusive title, like the original Metal Gear Solid games were. To add to this, a lot of different companies and individuals have taken to Kickstarter to raise funds to make the games that they used to make, because it's not cheap. Not only this, but the majority have been successful in obtaining funds for these games, with many of them exceeding beyond what they were trying to raise initially.
Mighty Number 9 by Keiji Inafune is a spiritual successor to Capcom's Mega Man. Yuuka-Laylee is made by former members of Rare and is a spiritual successor to Banjo-Kazooie. Bloodstained Ritual of the Night is made by former Konami employee Koji Igarashi. This game is a spiritual successor to Konami's Castlevania series. From Software's Dark Souls series is a spiritual successor to Demon's Souls, which in turn is a spiritual successor to From Software's prior game, Kingsfield. Bioshock is a spiritual successor to a game Ken Levine previously worked on, System Shock 2. Deus Ex is a spiritual successor to System Shock. Bravely Default is a spiritual successor to Final Fantasy The Four Heroes of Light. This game actually started out as a sequel to The Four Heroes of Light, but was later reworked into its own franchise. BioWare's Dragon Age is a spiritual successor to games that BioWare previously worked on, Baldur's Gate and Neverwinter Nights. BioWare wanted to try their hand at their own high fantasy series after working on these Dungeons & Dragons games, and thus Dragon Age was born. Shadow of Colossus is a spiritual successor to Ico. Fallout is a spiritual successor to Wasteland. When the Fallout devs wanted to make a game but no longer had the Wasteland license, they made their own game, and Fallout was born. Thus why the two franchises have many similarities. Supreme Commander is a spiritual successor to Total Annihilation.
Some games that have come out may seem like or play like games that are already out, but these games are not spiritual successors. The reason behind this is because the studio or developer behind the game is not related to the studio that developed the franchise. I would go as far as saying that these games are a tribute to previous games that we all know and love. Games that probably would not ever come out if someone didn't go out and make a game that's like another game just to satiate our thirst for a new game. Some examples of these games are
Axiom Verge. In the vein of the Metroidvania style, Axiom Verge plays like both Metroid and Castlevania, with some Contra elements thrown in as well. Citizens of Earth and Undertale. These games have gameplay that is likened to the Earthbound Mother franchise. Fast Racing Neo. This game has elements of fast racing spaceship-like cars, similar to franchises like F-Zero and Wipeout.
So what did you guys think? I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and it filled you in a bit about what spiritual successors are, and gave you an idea of games that are like other games. I hope this video also filled you in on any uncertainties you might have had about the Kojima Konami incident as well. Thanks for watching this episode of JRPG, and I'll see you next time. Bye now.